You've seen the dreamy van life videos, waking up to epic mountain views, sipping coffee by the beach. But here's what they don't show you: freezing nights, endless breakdowns, and public bathroom nightmares. Before you ditch your home and hit the road, here are 10 brutally honest reasons why van life might just be the worst decision you ever make. Let's get rolling. Living in a van significantly constrains your personal space in ways that aren't immediately obvious from social media portrayals. Unlike traditional homes with their distinct rooms and areas, a van offers just one compact space where all daily activities must occur. This limitation becomes particularly challenging when sharing with a partner or pet. Without separate rooms, there's no private space to retreat to when you need solitude, no quiet corner to decompress after disagreements, and no dedicated area for focused work. Everyday activities require careful coordination. Cooking becomes a strategic operation rather than a simple task. Getting dressed means navigating a confined area without bumping into everything. Even basic stretching or exercise requires rearranging your entire living space. Nighttime brings its own set of challenges. You share an intimate sleeping area where any disturbance, snoring, movement, early rising immediately affects your companion. When illness strikes, it's nearly impossible for one person to rest without disturbing the other. These spatial constraints can gradually affect your psychological well-being. The persistent lack of personal space may lead to mounting frustration, increased stress levels, and potential relationship strain. Small irritations that might dissipate in a larger home can amplify in a van's confined quarters. While van life offers remarkable freedom and adventure, understanding these spatial realities helps create more realistic expectations than the curated perfection often displayed on Instagram, where the challenges of limited personal space rarely make the highlight reel. Finding accessible bathroom facilities presents a significant obstacle for those embracing mobile living without built-in facilities. This aspect of van life rarely appears in glamorous social media portrayals, yet fundamentally shapes daily experiences. Without an onboard toilet, bathroom access becomes a strategic consideration that influences route planning, scheduling, and even sleeping locations. Travelers must mentally catalog potential options: coffee shops, public parks, recreation centers, libraries, and anticipate their hours of operation and accessibility. This logistical challenge intensifies during nighttime needs. The simple act of using a bathroom transforms into a multi-step process. This disrupts sleep patterns and introduces safety concerns, particularly in remote areas. Geographic variations further complicate the situation. Urban environments typically offer more options, but may restrict overnight parking, while natural settings provide fewer facilities despite more permissive camping policies. Seasonal fluctuations affect availability too, with many public restrooms closing during winter months. Alternative solutions exist, but present their own complexities. Portable toilets require regular emptying and cleaning. Composting systems demand proper maintenance. Even simple container options necessitate appropriate disposal protocols and introduce privacy challenges within confined quarters. This bathroom accessibility issue exemplifies how van life demands adaptability and resilience. While the lifestyle offers extraordinary freedom and connection with diverse environments, it requires accepting certain compromises rarely acknowledged in idealized portrayals of mobile living. The nomadic lifestyle demands rethinking resources that conventional homeowners take for granted. Energy and internet connectivity, the twin pillars of modern convenience, become precious commodities requiring constant attention when living on wheels. In a traditional home, electricity flows reliably and invisibly. In a van, power becomes a finite resource demanding active management. Solar panels collect energy efficiently only during optimal conditions: clear skies with direct sunlight. Battery systems store limited power, depleting with each device used. Generators provide alternatives, but introduce noise and fuel dependency, contradicting the environmental values many nomads embrace. This creates a perpetual mental calculation process. Every device charge and appliance use must be weighed against current battery levels and anticipated needs. During bad weather, these calculations become more complex, as solar recharging diminishes precisely when heating or cooling demands increase. Connectivity presents parallel challenges. Cellular data serves as the primary lifeline but varies dramatically with location. Signal strength differs not just between providers, but between spots merely hundreds of feet apart. Travelers become experts at identifying terrain features that might block signals or urban environments where congestion slows speeds. Public Wi-Fi introduces additional variables. Libraries and cafes offer free connectivity, but impose time constraints. Campgrounds advertising internet often provide minimal bandwidth shared among numerous users. This technological uncertainty reshapes daily routines and travel planning. Work calls and deadlines must align with connectivity availability rather than personal preference. Routes might be planned for cellular coverage rather than scenic beauty. These challenges reveal a fundamental truth. Van life's freedom requires heightened awareness of resource limitations and develops adaptability that conventional living rarely demands. When you choose to live in a vehicle, you enter into a direct relationship with weather conditions that most traditional homes buffer effectively. This creates a fundamentally different experience of environmental comfort that profoundly impacts daily living. Temperature regulation becomes a central challenge because of the physical properties of vehicle construction. Metal conducts heat extremely efficiently, meaning your dwelling transfers external temperatures to the interior space with minimal delay. This creates a living environment that rapidly responds to outside conditions rather than maintaining stability. During winter months, this manifests as persistent cold that penetrates conventional insulation solutions. Even with quality materials installed, the limited wall thickness cannot match the thermal mass of traditional construction. The small interior volume further complicates matters, as it heats and cools quickly with minimal air to serve as a temperature buffer. The heating solutions available introduce their own complexities. Propane systems provide effective warmth, but require ventilation to prevent dangerous carbon monoxide buildup. Electric heaters deliver safer operation, but rapidly deplete power reserves. Wood stoves offer independent heating, but demand vigilant fire safety in an extremely confined space. Each solution presents a careful balancing act between comfort, safety, and resource management. Summer conditions create the inverse challenge, but with similar intensity. Solar gain through windows and metal surfaces can quickly elevate interior temperatures well beyond external readings. The greenhouse effect traps this heat, creating conditions that can exceed safe body temperature thresholds. Ventilation becomes essential, but introduces security considerations about open windows and potential dust or insect infiltration. These environmental realities transform seasonal changes from background experiences into central planning considerations. Many mobile dwellers adopt migratory patterns, following moderate temperatures across regions and elevations. This approach, sometimes called chasing 70 degrees, creates a lifestyle deeply connected to climate patterns, but potentially disconnected from community, employment opportunities, and social stability. Understanding these environmental challenges reveals how van living demands not just adaptability, but a fundamental recalibration of comfort expectations and daily rhythms to align with natural cycles rather than technological solutions. Food preparation in van life transforms from a straightforward activity into a multidimensional puzzle requiring careful consideration of space, resources, and environmental factors. This shift fundamentally alters your relationship with cooking and eating. Physical constraints create cascading effects throughout the food preparation process. Confined working surfaces, often less than 2 square feet, necessitate a sequential rather than simultaneous approach. What might be a 30-minute meal in a conventional kitchen extends significantly as you complete each step before beginning the next, lacking the parallel processing of multiple workspaces. Equipment limitations reshape cooking possibilities. Single-burner setups mean multi-component meals require careful timing strategies. Sauces must be prepared and set aside before proteins can be cooked. Side dishes must wait their turn. This sequential requirement extends cooking times and often results in temperature inconsistencies across meal components. Food storage introduces another layer of complexity. Mini refrigerators typically hold about 1/3 the volume of standard units, changing shopping patterns and ingredient selection. Fresh produce decisions become exercises in spatial economics. A head of lettuce might occupy the same space as a week's worth of calorie-dense foods. Water usage represents perhaps the most significant adaptation. Without running water or substantial storage, cooking processes that traditional recipes take for granted become resource-intensive activities requiring deliberate planning. A typical one-pot meal might consume half a day's water allotment. Many van dwellers gravitate towards simplified culinary approaches, one-pot meals, pre-prepared ingredients, and minimal cleanup cooking methods. This practical adaptation, while efficient, can diminish sensory variety and nutritional diversity. Van living recalibrates seemingly basic activities into complex operations requiring thoughtful planning, creative problem-solving, and adjusted expectations about food. Vehicle functionality represents a critical foundation for those embracing nomadic lifestyles in converted vans. The dual nature of these vehicles, simultaneously transportation and dwelling, creates a unique vulnerability absent in traditional housing arrangements. Mechanical reliability directly impacts not just mobility, but residential security, merging two typically separate domains of concern. This fusion fundamentally alters the significance of automotive malfunctions. Engine troubles, transmission failures, electrical system malfunctions, and even minor issues like faulty sensors transform from transportation inconveniences into housing emergencies. The consequence cascade extends beyond repair costs to include accommodation alternatives, possession security, and personal safety considerations. Geographic location compounds these challenges significantly. Urban breakdowns offer proximity to service facilities, but create immediate parking complications and potential legal issues regarding overnight stays. Rural mechanical failures provide fewer immediate restrictions, but severely limit access to qualified technicians, specialized parts, and alternative accommodations. Preventative maintenance assumes heightened importance within this context. Routine inspections, fluid changes, and component replacements become essential risk management practices rather than optional vehicle care. Many experienced mobile dwellers develop fundamental mechanical skills and carry specialized tools precisely because technical self-sufficiency represents a crucial safety net. Financial planning necessarily evolves to accommodate these realities. Conventional housing budgets separate maintenance from transportation costs, while mobile living requires an integrated approach with substantial emergency reserves. The accelerated wear patterns resulting from continuous travel and residential usage further amplify this financial dimension. Understanding these mechanical dependencies illuminates a core truth about vehicle-based living. It merges traditionally separate vulnerability domains, requiring adopters to develop integrated resilience strategies that bridge automotive knowledge, residential planning, and emergency preparedness skills. The logistics of securing appropriate overnight parking constitutes a fundamental challenge that permeates daily life for vehicle-based residents. This ongoing concern consistently ranks among the primary stressors reported by those embracing mobile living arrangements. Municipal regulations across North America have evolved in response to increasing numbers of vehicular residents, with local ordinances frequently prohibiting extended parking durations, particularly during nighttime hours. This regulatory landscape creates a complex patchwork of restrictions that mobile dwellers must navigate daily, requiring constant adaptation and location assessment. This situation produces a phenomenon best described as parking anxiety, a persistent psychological burden stemming from the fundamental human need for secure shelter. Unlike traditional housing arrangements where residential security remains relatively stable, vehicle dwellers experience continuous uncertainty regarding their immediate overnight accommodations. The economic dimension further complicates this scenario. Designated overnight facilities such as campgrounds provide legitimacy, but at significant financial cost, particularly in regions with high tourism demand. These expenses can rapidly deplete budgets, undermining one of the primary financial advantages of mobile living. Additionally, these facilities often require advance reservations, conflicting with the spontaneous flexibility that attracts many to this lifestyle. Alternative approaches involve developing sophisticated knowledge of local parking norms, including industrial areas with minimal overnight surveillance, quiet residential streets with limited enforcement, and commercial properties with permissive policies. However, these solutions introduce varying degrees of legal risk, personal safety concerns, and potential community conflicts. Digital technology has somewhat mitigated these challenges through specialized applications that aggregate community-sourced information about viable parking locations. However, the reliability of such information fluctuates as enforcement patterns change and previously tolerant locations implement restrictions in response to increased usage. Understanding this perpetual accommodation uncertainty reveals how mobile living fundamentally transforms the concept of home from a fixed, secure location to a provisional arrangement requiring daily reassessment, adaptation, and strategic planning. The fundamental human need for cleanliness presents unique complications within the constraints of vehicular dwelling. Personal hygiene, a routine aspect of conventional housing, transforms into a multifaceted logistical challenge requiring significant planning, resource allocation, and compromise when living in a compact mobile space. This situation stems directly from the absence of integrated plumbing systems that traditional residences provide. Without mobile residents must develop adaptable strategies that accommodate these inherent limitations while still maintaining acceptable personal hygiene standards. Access to bathing facilities becomes a complex negotiation between multiple competing factors. Geographic location dramatically influences available options. Urban environments may offer commercial fitness facilities with shower access through membership programs, while remote locations might provide natural water sources but require heating solutions and privacy considerations. Each option introduces its own economic, temporal, and practical constraints. The consequence of limited bathing access extends beyond mere physical comfort into psychosocial dimensions. Regular cleanliness practices serve important psychological functions related to self-perception, social confidence, and mental well-being. The disruption of these routines can contribute to feelings of discomfort that transcend simple physical sensations. Alternative cleanliness approaches develop out of necessity, with techniques to maximize cleanliness while minimizing resource consumption. However, these adaptations rarely provide the comprehensive refreshment that full immersion bathing offers. Water management assumes central importance, transforming simple acts like washing hands from automatic behaviors into deliberate resource management decisions. Van life necessitates fundamental recalibration of deeply ingrained personal care expectations, requiring innovative approaches to meeting basic human needs within significant resource constraints. The mobile lifestyle introduces a profound paradox regarding human connection. While physically enabling access to diverse communities and social environments, the constant transience simultaneously undermines the foundation necessary for meaningful relationship development. This contradiction creates a unique form of social isolation that differs significantly from traditional loneliness experiences. This phenomenon stems from several interconnected factors. The temporal dimension of relationship formation presents perhaps the most fundamental challenge. Meaningful connections typically require sustained interaction over extended periods, a condition that perpetual movement directly counteracts. Brief encounters at scenic overlooks, campgrounds, or community events provide momentary social stimulation but rarely develop into the deeper bonds that sustain emotional well-being. Geographic inconsistency further complicates social integration. Traditional communities operate through established rhythms and gradual inclusion processes that welcome newcomers progressively over time. The mobile dweller, constantly repositioning, rarely remains in one location long enough to advance beyond initial social introduction phases, creating a perpetual newcomer status. Lifestyle divergence between mobile residents and stationary populations introduces additional barriers. Conventional gatherings often center around home-based activities that vehicular residents cannot reciprocate, creating asymmetrical social dynamics that feel unsustainable over time. Digital technologies provide partial mitigation, but struggle to facilitate new connections without shared physical context. Special occasions further amplify these challenges, highlighting the absence of stable community bonds and intensifying isolation experiences. The vehicular lifestyle requires developing innovative approaches to human connection that accommodate geographical inconsistency while still meeting fundamental belonging needs, perhaps its most sophisticated challenge. The economics of vehicular living present a complex financial landscape that frequently contradicts initial expectations. Many embrace this lifestyle, anticipating significant cost reductions compared to conventional housing, only to encounter a transformed rather than diminished expense structure requiring sophisticated budgeting approaches. This financial recalibration begins with transportation costs, which transition from occasional expenditures to fundamental living expenses. Fuel consumption becomes a primary budget category, as mobility represents both necessity and core lifestyle value. Vehicle efficiency dramatically influences this equation, with larger conversion vehicles frequently achieving single-digit miles per gallon that magnify the impact of fuel price fluctuations. Maintenance requirements intensify substantially compared to conventional vehicle ownership. The combination of increased mileage, residential usage, conversion weight, and off-pavement travel accelerates wear on critical components, introducing unique deterioration patterns unfamiliar to most vehicle owners. These costs extend beyond repairs to include temporary accommodation during maintenance and potential income disruption for remote workers. The vehicle's dual function creates an unusual depreciation scenario. While residential properties typically appreciate, vehicles invariably depreciate, creating a fundamental economic disadvantage compared to traditional housing investments. Daily operational expenses follow different patterns than conventional housing, but rarely diminish in aggregate. The economic vulnerability arising from the fusion of shelter and transportation creates substantial risk management requirements, necessitating emergency reserves significantly larger than typically recommended for conventional housing. Van life often represents a lifestyle value choice, rather than a purely financial strategy, requiring practitioners to assess whether the experiential benefits justify the complex financial adaptations required. Van life is more than just adventure. It's tough, unpredictable, and full of challenges most don't talk about. Is freedom worth the struggle? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you want the real side of van life, no sugarcoating, just the truth, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what's coming next.